Fast and Furious 11 has been marketed as the final movie in this long-running action franchise, so it's very likely that many of the series' most iconic characters will be making unexpected returns in the sequel. It's already been confirmed that characters such as Luke Hobbs and Gisele will be coming back after several years, but the possibilities are endless for Fast and Furious 11's cast. The Fast and Furious movies have always centered around friends and family, so it's very fitting that the final installment would focus on these long-awaited character reunions above all else. Additionally, Dan Therese is the perfect villain to make this happen. His ongoing feud with Dom's crew is an ideal excuse to bring everybody together again, even those who've not been involved in the franchise for many years. Perhaps the most infamous duo in the entire Fast and Furious franchise, Hobbs and Shaw, are well known for their inability to work together. It was this entertaining dynamic that spawned the saga's first-ever spin-off, named in their honor, and they contributed strongly to the comedic overtones of movies like The Fate of the Furious. Unfortunately, Johnson and Statham stepped back from the Fast and Furious franchise at roughly the same time, meaning that their characters haven't been seen together since that movie. With Hobbs' return at the end of Fast X, there's now a perfect opportunity to bring the iconic duo back together. Statham will reportedly also reprise his role in the upcoming 11th movie, meaning that both actors will be working together for the first time in 6 years. With lots of emotional storytelling on the line and plenty of intense subplots to wrap up, the reunion of Hobbs and Shaw could offer some much-needed humor to the final Fast and Furious movie. Deckard may be the most well-known of the Shaw brothers, but that wasn't always the case. Luke Evans Owen Shaw was first introduced in Fast and Furious 6, with his supposed death triggering the events that would lead to his vengeful brother entering the franchise in the next movie. However, it was revealed in The Fate of the Furious that Owen actually survived his accident, and the brothers teamed up to help Dom and his friends bring down Cypher. The Fast and Furious series has yet to see all 4 Shaw family members together, since Evans did not appear in Hobbs and Shaw. Although it's unconfirmed what happened to Owen after The Fate of the Furious, there's every possibility that Evans could make a surprise return in the upcoming sequel. His character is still alive, and that's the only thing that matters. With Deckard and his mother, Queenie, already involved in the events of Fast X, there is more incentive to bring the younger brother back to set up the family reunion. Although Dom Toretto has appeared in every Fast and Furious movie to date, it's been many years since the character featured alongside his famous rival, Agent Luke Hobbs. Much of this comes down to the real-life feud between Vin Diesel and Johnson, which reportedly contributed to the latter's departure from the franchise between the 8th and 9th movies. Now that Johnson is officially returning to Fast and Furious and his feud with Diesel is seemingly over, this is the perfect opportunity to bring their characters together again and reconcile their differences after 8 years. The Fast and Furious franchise has always been about family and friendship, so it would be very fitting for Dom and Hobbs to overcome their on-screen and off-screen conflicts in the final installment. The tragic death of Paul Walker marked a huge turning point for the Fast and Furious movies, forcing one of the series' most iconic characters to say his goodbyes and retire from the series for good. Thankfully, the crew still managed to film Walker's final scenes following his passing, with his brother standing in for the actor to shoot Brian's emotional goodbye. Understandably, this was the last time that the Fast and Furious protagonist was seen in the franchise, despite several Easter eggs to prove that he's still around off-screen. There's been lots of talk about Walker's character potentially returning in Fast and Furious 11, whether that's through the use of deepfake CGI or merely an implied return off-screen. Either way, it seems inevitable that Dom will reunite with his old friend before the series is over. The only question is how the writers will handle this challenge. Likewise, Brian's departure from the Fast and Furious saga also meant that Jordana Brewster's character Mia was left without much direction or purpose. She was originally introduced as a love interest for Brian, and her story moved in tandem with Brian's for the majority of the series. It almost felt like the Fast and Furious writers weren't exactly sure what to do with her after Brian left. Her character has been done a disservice in the most recent sequels, and focusing on her relationship with Brian seems like the easiest way for Fast and Furious 11 to bring her back into the spotlight. If Walker's character does somehow return in Fast and Furious 11, his reunion with Mia would be the most exciting thing about it. Although they're still together in universe, it would be very rewarding to actually see the characters on screen and remind audiences just how important Mia has always been to this franchise. Her character has been done a disservice in the most recent sequels, and focusing on her relationship with Brian seems like the easiest way for Fast and Furious 11 to bring her back into the spotlight. The return of Gisele in Fast X was among the film's most unpredictable twists, with the character seemingly dead for the past 12 years after falling from an aircraft in Fast and Furious 6. It's yet to be seen exactly how her survival will be explained, but it clearly opens the door for one of the saga's most anticipated reunions, Han and Gisele's. The pair struck up a short-lived romance in the 5th and 6th movies, with Han and Gisele quickly becoming a fan-favorite pairing. But it was also a tragic romance. Audiences knew that Han's death was steadily approaching, so their dynamic was very bittersweet and could never work. However, with both characters somehow making it through their respective accidents unscathed, the stage has been perfectly set for their reunion in Fast and Furious 11. Han and Gisele can finally have their happy ending, presuming Dante doesn't pick them off first.